Okay, so my name is Dalton Hermes, and I'm the president and CEO of Hermes Landscaping. I grew up in this company, and I've been running it now for about 35 years. And what I want to do is take just a few minutes and share with you how to keep plants alive, trees and shrubs, after they're installed. So we will come in, typically dig a hole and plant a tree or a shrub in your yard. And 95% of the time I think that a tree or shrub dies, it's from either too much or too little water. The problem is, this, in an untrained eye, the symptoms are very, very similar in that there's wilting in both cases. And the only way to really tell if a plant is too wet or too dry is to probe it. And so what we do in our company is we have these metal probes, and we historically have taken a sprinkler key and we grind or cut the fork off and grind it to a point. But we take the probe and we push it into the ground on the side of the ball, between the ball hole and the ball, or the container, the root zone of the container and the soil. What we're trying to do is eliminate extremes. So if you take this probe and you push it into that area, that space between the ball and the hole, and it goes in really easy, and you wiggle it around and you can hear it sloshing down below, and you pull the probe up and it's dripping water, that's too wet. And if you take the probe and you push it into the ground, and the ground is so hard that you can't get it in, that's too dry. And so those are the only two extremes we're trying to eliminate. Everything else is okay. If you eliminate the extreme wet and the extreme dry, the plant is most likely going to make it. So again, just to reiterate, the symptoms look very similar. The only way to really tell is to probe the plant. And I will tell you, you can have a plant that's in one location and 5 feet away in a different location. One plant is drowning and one plant is desiccating or dying from a lack of water. And again, it's soil conditions, it's sun exposure, it's grade. There would be a lot of reasons why plants close together would be experiencing different soil conditions. But the most important thing is to probe and probe them all. One of the things that we see in shrub beds is these days is drip irrigation and shrub irrigation. And when customers install irrigation in their shrub beds, very, very frequently the shrubs are going to drown because people will set the shrub zone times similar to the lawn zone times. The lawn zones in the summer may need to water every day. The shrub zones may need to water once a week or every 2 weeks. And if you're watering the shrubs every day like you would the turf, the shrubs are going to drown. The way to avoid that is to set up a separate program for the shrub zones, but it's necessary to know what zones are in fact the shrub zones. The other thing I will share is that on new landscapes, oftentimes sod goes in at the same time the tree is planted. So it's a brand new yard, we put sod in, and now the roots of the sod, in the case of fescue, may only be this deep, maybe an inch or two deep. And in July and August, the ground temperature in Kansas City might be 100 degrees on a 100-degree day. So it's really, really hot, and these tender roots are wanting to move down into the soil, and they're pulling back up because it's too hot. So until the soil temperature is cool, you have to pour a ton of water on the sod in order to keep the sod alive. Well, what happens when you pour a lot of water on the sod is we drown the trees. And so what we tell our customers is much better to turn the water back, save the trees if they happen to be planted in a turf area, and let the sod go dormant. And the sod, when it goes dormant, it will come back in the fall when it cools off. But the trees, if they drown, they're gone. If a tree drowns, it's the end of it. So, and the investment normally in the trees and the shrubs is much higher than in the turf. So in July and August, when it gets really hot, you got to turn on new landscapes, you got to turn the irrigation back to save the trees. Long term, if it's fescue sod, the roots of fescue sod go down 3 feet, roughly. Bluegrass, maybe a foot, and native grasses 7 or 8 feet. But when the roots get down 3 feet, they get away from the heat and they have an opportunity to pull in deeper moisture. And so that's why fescue is a preferred turf in Kansas City area. So I think that's what I have to share, and hope this is helpful for you.